The day I walked out of that courthouse without my son, I swear the world felt darker. The air was heavy, the sky seemed gray, and every step toward home was like dragging a chain behind me. When I opened the door to our apartment, the silence nearly crushed me. His little shoes were still by the door. His cereal bowl sat in the sink. His favorite toy car was lying sideways on the couch where he'd last played with it. And he wasn't there. That night, I sat on his bed and pressed my face into his pillow, breathing in what was left of him. My chest hurt so badly I thought my heart might give out. But as the tears soaked through, something hardened inside me. I whispered out loud, almost like a vow, "This isn't the end. They don't get to take you from me forever. I will fight." The next morning, reality hit. Fighting meant appealing the ruling, and appeals aren't simple. They're expensive, they take months, and the odds are never in your favor. People told me to accept it, to focus on visitation, to move on. But how does a mother move on when her child calls another woman mommy? I went to work with swollen eyes, counting tips and paychecks, wondering how I could even afford a lawyer. I sold my old jewelry, skipped meals, and cut corners everywhere just to scrape together the money to file. But the hardest part wasn't the money. It was the doubt. At night, the voices in my head told me maybe the court was right. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe love alone doesn't raise a child. And yet, every time I thought of giving up, I remembered Daniel's little arms wrapped around me. I remembered him whispering, "I love you, Mommy." And that gave me strength. So I called my lawyer. "File the appeal," I told her. My voice cracked, but it was firm. "I'm not giving up." I had no idea what I was walking into, or the battle still waiting for me. But I knew one thing for certain, the fight for my son had only just begun. What I didn't know then was that Margaret had one more card to play, evidence that could destroy everything before I even set foot in court again. Filing the appeal was only the beginning. What came next was a storm. My lawyer warned me right away, appeals aren't about emotions, Elena. They're about evidence. If we're going to win this, we need more than your love, we need proof. Proof. That word echoed in my head. Proof that I was a fit mother. Proof that I wasn't the broken woman Margaret painted me to be. So I started gathering. I knocked on neighbors' doors, asking if they'd speak on my behalf. I went to Daniel's school, begging his teacher to write a statement about how he lit up whenever I picked him up. I even spoke to the pediatrician, who promised to confirm I never missed Daniel's appointments, no matter how broke I was. Piece by piece, I tried to stitch together a picture of the mother I truly was. Not perfect, but present. Not wealthy, but willing. Not flawless, but full of love. Still, the doubt never left me. Some nights I'd sit staring at my ceiling, whispering, "What if it's not enough?" Then came visitation day. Those hours with Daniel felt like lifelines. When he saw me, he dropped everything and ran straight into my arms. His little hands grabbed my shirt, and he whispered in my ear, "Mommy, when am I coming home?" I froze. My throat tightened. What could I say? I kissed the top of his head and told him, "Soon, baby. Mommy's working on it." But inside, I was terrified. What if soon never came? And listen, if you've ever believed in fighting for your family no matter the odds, stay with me. This battle was bigger than me, and if you want to hear how far I had to go, make sure you subscribe right now. Because what came next shook me to my core. Back in court preparation, Margaret's lawyer moved fast. He filed documents I hadn't seen before, new evidence. My stomach dropped as my lawyer slid the papers across the table. Photos of my apartment. Old ones, from months before, back when bills were late and clutter piled up. They'd twisted my hard days into images of an unsafe home. And then came the worst, a claim that I'd left Daniel alone overnight. A lie, but one backed up by someone willing to swear it was true. I felt the air leave my lungs. This wasn't just about proving I was a good mother anymore. This was about surviving an attack designed to erase me. As I walked out of that meeting, clutching those papers, I knew the appeal wouldn't just be hard, it might be impossible. The day the appeal hearing began, I thought I was ready. But nothing could prepare me for what Margaret's side had in store, or the moment when the judge looked me in the eye and asked me a question I couldn't answer. If you followed me this far, don't miss what comes next. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because the courtroom battle in part 2 is where the truth, the lies, and my future as Daniel's mother all collide. The day of the appeal hearing, I stood in front of the courthouse staring at the doors, trying to gather the courage to walk in. My palms were sweaty, my stomach churned, and every part of me wanted to run. But I couldn't. Daniel was counting on me. Inside, the room felt colder than the first time. Margaret sat across from me in her tailored suit, her hands folded neatly in her lap as if she had nothing to fear. Her lawyer shuffled his papers with a smug confidence that made my chest tighten. My attorney leaned close and whispered, "Remember, Elena. Tell the truth. Stay calm. The judge needs to see your strength." I nodded, though inside, I felt anything but strong. The hearing began with Margaret's lawyer presenting his case. He was smooth, polished, and merciless. He held up the photos of my old apartment, pointing at the clutter, the worn-out furniture, the peeling paint. "Is this the environment a young child deserves to live in?" he asked, his voice dripping with disapproval. I clenched my fists. He wasn't showing the cleaned-up apartment I had now, the nights I spent scrubbing, fixing, and trying. No, he showed the version of me at my lowest, as if that was all I could ever be. Then came the accusations. A neighbor testified that I had left Daniel alone overnight. I wanted to scream, "That's a lie." But when you're the one fighting for credibility, even the truth feels fragile. When it was finally my turn, I walked to the stand with my heart in my throat. My lawyer asked me simple questions first. Did I love my son? What had I done to provide for him? How had I improved since the last hearing? I spoke from my soul. I told them about the nights I worked double shifts just to keep the lights on, the mornings I packed Daniel's lunch even when I barely ate myself, the joy in his face when I read him bedtime stories. My voice cracked, but I held steady. I wasn't just telling the court my story, I was fighting for my life as a mother. Then Margaret's lawyer rose for cross-examination. His eyes were sharp, his tone cutting. "Ms. Ramirez," he said, "isn't it true you've struggled with depression? Isn't it true your financial instability has put your child at risk? Isn't it true that your mother-in-law has consistently provided a safer, more stable environment?" Each question felt like a bullet. I tried to answer calmly, but my throat tightened. Depression? Yes, I had struggled, but I had sought help. Finances? Tight, yes, but never unsafe. Stable environment? Maybe Margaret had more money, but stability isn't just about money, it's about love, about presence, about being there. I looked at the judge, praying he could see the truth in my eyes. Then came the moment I wasn't prepared for. The judge leaned forward, adjusted his glasses, and asked, "Ms. Ramirez, if I return custody to you, how can you guarantee your son's well-being won't be compromised again?" The room went silent. My chest heaved. My mind raced. How do you answer a question like that, when all you have is your determination, your love, and a life still piecing itself together? I opened my mouth to speak, but the words caught in my throat. For the first time in that courtroom, I felt truly powerless. The judge's face gave nothing away as he leaned back. "I'll need time to review all the evidence. Court is adjourned until further notice." The gavel fell. And just like that, my fate, and Daniel's future, was suspended in silence. Weeks later, when the letter from the court finally arrived, I held it in my hands knowing it would either restore my world, or destroy it completely. The days after the hearing stretched into weeks, and every single one of them felt like a lifetime. I tried to keep busy, working extra shifts, fixing up the apartment, even starting therapy to prove, if not to the court then at least to myself, that I was getting stronger. But the truth is, nothing filled the empty space Daniel left behind. His room stayed untouched. His drawings still hung on the fridge. Some nights, I'd walk in and sit on his bed, whispering, "Just one more chance. That's all I need. One more chance." Then, one afternoon, the letter came. A thin white envelope from the court, sitting in my mailbox like a grenade. My hand shook as I held it. My breath caught in my chest. This was it, the decision that would decide if my son came home, or if he was gone from me forever. I sat down at the kitchen table, the same place where I'd helped Daniel with his homework, the same table where we once laughed over spilled juice and silly jokes. I slid my finger under the flap, pulled the papers out, and read the first line. My vision blurred. My heart pounded. My lips trembled as I whispered the words to myself. I can't tell you yet what those words said, not here, not now. But I will tell you this, some people called it justice. Others called it a tragedy. And me? I just called it the moment that changed everything. Because from that day forward, my fight didn't end, it only transformed. Did I win my son back, or did the system bury me deeper than before? And what happened to Daniel in the months that followed, still haunts me. If you followed me this far, don't stop now. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because in part 3 I reveal the final outcome, and the shocking twist that no one saw coming.